This has been a fast-moving story. It does not stop, the COVID-19 situation. And, Caro, you can tell us tonight that you expect fans in some parts of the country to be at games in breaking news this weekend.
Yeah, I can tell you all that there will be crowds at the Gabba and at Metricon Stadium this weekend. Anastasia Palaszczuk, the Premier of Queensland, I should say, has announced that they will allow 25% of every stadium, every football stadium, to be filled. So where the Gabba concerned, that's sort of 10, 11,000, Craig. The Gabba is not really ready to bring that many people in this weekend. So on Saturday afternoon for the Fremantle game, they are going to bring in 1,000 people. Brisbane will allow... Basically, they're going to open up the gates for their staff, those who've been laid off, those who haven't been paid, etc. They're going to bring in a certain amount of paid-up members and also corporates. So Greg Swan, the CEO, and his team will be there. I think they might even have a cash bar operating. Not sure about food for the corporates, sit-down, etc. This is going to be... Brisbane have 4 home games in a row.
And the Gold Coast as well?
Gold Coast are hosting a game Saturday night at Metricon Stadium. Their capacity is obviously smaller, so they're going to start with 600 or 700 and work their way up to, well, their capacity is 27,000, so around 6,000 by the time they host footy again in round 4. That's, I think, their 3rd home game. Brisbane have 4 games in a row, so they're going to work over the next 4 weeks, go from 1,000, 2,500, 5,000, and then when they host Port Adelaide, I think it's a Saturday night in round 5, KANE. A bit disappointed that game's not on free-to-air TV too, by the way. There will be 10,000 people or 11,000 fans at the Gabba.
It's extraordinary. It moves so quickly, Caro. We heard Gillon McLachlan speak to AFL media over the weekend and he wouldn't rule out 100,000 at the MCG. Is he feeling pressured by what the NRL are doing and how fast they have pushed this?
Well, the irony is that the NRL actually have helped the AFL here because the Premier of Queensland is a big Broncos fan and Broncos aren't doing all that well, and I think he'd like the fans back at the game.
But the Premier's not doing that out of love of the Broncos, Caro, surely. It's a public safety issue. It's not a who you barrack for issue.
Of course it's a public safety issue, but she wants fans at Suncorp Stadium. Ironically, the Broncos aren't playing there this weekend, nor are the Titans. Not sure about the Cowboys.
What about the showdown?
The showdown will, where they're waiting on an announcement from their medical transition team tomorrow. They were hoping for an announcement today. My understanding is that Port Adelaide is hopeful, Matthew, of getting some corporates in, a big group of corporates in for Saturday's showdown. And I reckon we'll have supporters coming back to the footy at GMHBA and Marvel and the MCG within 3 to 4 weeks.
Do you really?
And how many people are we talking, Caro?
I don't think we're talking 25% in 3 to 4 weeks, but this is moving so quickly we can't rule anything out. I mean, Craig sat here 2 months ago and quite rightly thought footy might be back late August, early September. Now we're talking about crowds of up to 10,000 actually allowed at the Gabba this weekend. They're not going to go that quickly, but they will over the next 4 weeks.
Seems ridiculous to me, Caro, that we've still got clubs in a hub, hold up in a hub, and Port Adelaide and the Crows are going to jump on a plane after the showdown and fly to a hub to play footy, yet we can still have crowds in the stadium. Like, how is that happening in this world?
Well, they're going to have to sit a certain distance apart, most of them outdoors. No children are allowed because it's too hard to police, and certain gates will be open. No medical checks. No temperature checks before they come into the ground. It is extraordinary, and it just is the way... Look, they're the medical experts. I'm not saying the Premier is doing this just to help the Broncos, but this was clearly a decision to give NRL a kickstart as well.
And there'll be the haves and the have-nots too. Like if Queensland get crowds back earlier, they'll have a slightly more competitive advantage on home grounds, and they're going to be there anyway, Lordo, so it really opens up for the Queensland team.
So, Caro, if you're a member at home and you're listening going, wow, yeah, I could maybe go to a game soon, who decides at each venue? Is it your football club that decides who goes, or how does that work?
Well, the home club will decide. The home club will decide, and I think it's a great gesture by Brisbane and the Gold Coast to bring staff in for this week's game, but also to bring in certain members. I mean, maybe there'll be a lottery, maybe it's a first in. I think it's a first in, first served basis.